in love with her food.
何事ですか。
私のせいじゃない。
Holy. Chill
お疲
out,
れのよう
dude.
ですね。
仕事が溜まっ
Tired
てる
enough
んだ
to
が、
hit his head.
どうに
Yeah.
も馬が合わない相手がいて意見が違ってしまうのだ。
Hello, comrades. Welcome back. This is detectfanive, and today we are going to be watching the Apothecary Diaries, Season 1, Episode 15, Raw Fish. But before we do, let's talk about the previous episode 14, the new pure consort. We are introduced to Loran, the new pure consort, and Maomao is recommended to educate these high 4-ranking concubines of whatever it is she needs to teach them, and she is very protective of her teaching materials and letting Jinshi know that this is only for the women. So she teaches them the materials, and they all have different expressions in this situation. Poor Lishu is too young and too pure, so she's really wrapping her head around this whole situation. Liwa and Gyokyo are very happy. Laoran, she seems not interested in the teaching or with the emperor, at least as far as I know. But there's something else that's happening, and there's been an explosion. And Lacan is that mysterious guy with the glasses, and he seems to know something, but I'm not entirely sure if he knew about the situation or not. But it seemed like he did, but I'm not entirely sure. And Maomao went there the next day, and she is also interested in what happened, and she did a little experiment that seemed to work. And this is purely by accident. But is it really just an accident? Because it seems to me that there's more to this than it meets the eye. Because apparently, that pipe that she's holding in her hand seems to be very expensive. So I would assume someone who has something of that sort would understand how to use it properly. For instance, Maomao did that before and she got thrown out by the lady. So unless some soldier had something like that, I don't think it would unless they're of higher ranking. And right now, the only person I'm curious about at the moment is this mysterious guy that was involved with Conan's death and probably will be involved with this guy's death somehow. Now, do I believe that he's the killer? Probably, or probably not. I'm not entirely sure. I feel like they're trying to make it seem that way, and it's possible that it's not that way. But then again, it could be. I mean, this is Apothecary Diaries. There's so many mysteries, so many to figure out. But the best part is, we get to watch the episode and find out. So, on to the next episode.
によると、刑事が事件解決に一役買ったらしい。
Ooh,
西様とい
water
えば、
director is
こ
gonna
の
be
前、
interested
六
in
将官の
that.
議女を見
I'm
受けしたんだ
still
ろう。
convinced that
なん
he's
でも、
the water
知的で冷
director.
たい目つきの美女だとか。中様。
その話、詳しく教えてくれないか？
Okay, so he might know Luomen.
シャオマオ、
Or
ちょっといいでしょうか。
Jinshi. He's
ガオシュン
interested
様
in who
どうした
Jinshi.
のですか？ 10年前の商家でフグのナマスに当たって食中毒が起きたと。あのピリピリしたしびれがいいんだ。
今度
Girl.
その手の料理屋に連れて行きますから。これとよく似た事件が最近起こったということで、元同僚に相談を受けたのです。
よく似た事件。
が、フグのナマスを食べて昏睡状態に陥っているのですよ。
それは私が聞いてもよろしい話でしょうか？
問題ありません。シャオマオは自分の立場をわきまえていますから。
She'll stay silent.
今回ナマスには フグの皮と身を湯引きしたものを使っていたそうです。それを食べて昏睡状態に陥ったと。
身は比較的毒が薄いはずなのに。
今回の事件も前の事件も、料理人はフグを調理に使っていないと言い張っているのですよ。倒れた二人。今回の役人と前回の商人は、共に美食家で、珍味を好んでいました。普段から差が生肉なども食べていて、フグの好物だったです。厨房のゴミから内臓や皮が全て発見されたことから、肝は食べていないと判断されました。二つの事件の料理人は共に、フグは前日の料理に使ったもので、ナマスには別の魚を使ったと無罪を主張しました。しかし、証人となる人間がいなかった。痙攣していたところを発見されました。
ガオシュン様、もう少し情報を集めてきてもらえますか？
わかりました。調べておきます。
Yep. She needs all that information before she can start speculating.
別の魚を使ったという話も、残りカスが見つかっていて矛盾はない。
何の話をしてたんだ？さすがにその顔は俺も傷つく。ガオシュンの話をやけに熱心に聞いていたようだな。
遅くなりましたので、帰らせていただきます。
おい、まだ話は終わってない。
あらあら、動かないで。
これは調理書です。使用人の証言だと、主人に出す料理はほとんどここに書かれていると。
Okay.
ありがとうございます。湯引きした魚に細切りの野菜を加えて酢で和える。ナマスの作り方に特におかしなところはないですね。
酢の配合は何種類か書かれていますが、材料は詳しく書かれていません。
おそらく季節によって手に入る魚や野菜が変わるからでしょ
う。わからないのか？で、何がわからないって？
お食事前ですから。
わかっている。
ずいぶん子供っぽいことを。事件が起きたのは
1週間ほど前です。
冬場の野菜となると、ナマスの材料は大根か人参といったところですか？
それが海藻を使ったと言っていまして。
海藻ですか？
海藻です。
珍味を好むということは、変わった海藻を入れることもあるだろう。もしよろしければ、その家の厨房を見せてもらうことはできませんか？
Yeah, because if it's winter, that shouldn't.
ガオシュン様からここに来るようにと言われたのですが。
バセンだ。話は聞いている。
マオマオです。
いいな。勝手なことはするなよ。
Boston is interesting. Wait a minute, wasn't he
向こうに行けば屋
with
敷
the
の下なんだ。
incident
厨房を案内してくれ。
Uh-oh.
さすがガオシュン様、仕事が早い。見たことない武官だな。誰かに似ている気がするが、よくは思われてなさそうだが、まあいいか。
I remember he was involved with Conan and then the last episode, but he was also back in a few episodes ago before it started. He was with Jinshi and Gaoshun. So, because he has some sort of bloodline that makes him part of the military, but why is he in these incidents though? Interesting. Because I feel like he's trusted by Jinshi and Gaoshun, so I feel like he's up to something, but I don't know what it is.
毒の一件以来使われておりません。
Okay. Maybe
勝手に入るな。
something
出て
on
いけ。
the
何をしてる。こんな奴らを連れてきたのはお前か。
ちゃんと奥方に確認は取っています。
okay, so it has
そ
to
れにこれ
be
は仕事ですので。
それは
the
本当か。
plates, the
入っ
knife,
て
or
もよろしいか。
something.
それとも何か不都合でも。
勝手にしろ。
Okay, it's in the kitchen for sure.
誰ですか？
旦那様の弟君です。旦那様が昏睡状態になって奥方様も疲労で寝込んでしまい、弟君が屋敷を取り仕切っていまして。
バセン様。
ああ。
調理器具は料理人が洗ってし。
Yeah. Okay, so I think what's going on with the coma and stuff is either two things. It's either somewhere in the kitchen that's involved with the as being the Like they either used a knife to cut up the raw fish, or it could be the plate, because I remember something about Maomao saying something about I can't remember. It was like a bowl, and if it was silver, then I can't remember if it would be poison or not. I gotta go check. But then, so it either has to be that, or it has to be someone that served it to him. But the reason I think it could be an object of some sort that's in the kitchen is because the brother was being overprotective. So either the brother is overprotective because he got angry with how his brother got in a coma, or he's hiding something and that's why he's over there trying to make sure that they don't touch that specific item, and he might somehow touch it or something that could make him a less suspect, but I'm not entirely sure. So, yeah, that's where my head is. I don't have much knowledge on this, so I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. Oh, is it the table though? Maybe the jars. Hmm.
お気に入りでよく食べておられましたので、毒はないと思いますが。
You don't think?
嘘はついてなさそう
That's
だな。
helpful.
だそうだ。終わったなら早く帰ってくれ。
No, there's
そう
something
です
in
ね。
here. And he's trying to get it.
持ってきたのか。
この海藻が取れる時期にはまだ少し早い。だからといって塩漬けにしたところで今の時期まで持つものでもありません。おそらくこの近辺で取れたものではないと思います。どこから仕入れたのかわかると良いのですが。
True.
わかってくれたらしい。
Nope.
なら。
Because if he's involved, this could be troubling. I don't know. I don't trust
なんだこれは
Boston at the moment.
屋敷から持ってきた海藻です。事前に2つに分けて水にさらしておきました。
やはり海藻は南方から持ち込まれたものでした。下男の証言では、主人が冬場にその海藻を食べることはなかったとのことでした。
料理人からも、普段使っている海藻と同じ種類で毒のはずがないと。
同じ海藻なら毒がない。というわけじゃないんです。美食家の役人の好物だと知った交易商が金になると思ってわざわざ地元民に海藻の塩漬けを作らせたとしたら、世の中には毒が無毒になることがあるんです。例えば、うなぎには本来毒がありますが、血を抜いたり加熱することで食べられるようになります。この海藻の場合は、石灰水につけることが必要だったはずです。
何してる？
大丈夫です。多分ご安心を。ちゃんとオート剤はここに。
自信満々に言うな。はけ
一夜漬けで無毒化できるかどうか食べて検証するつもりだったのに。ここで問題なのですが、交易商人に海藻の塩漬けを持ってくるよう提案したのは誰でしょうか。取り寄せたのが食べた当人であればある意味自業自得ですが、でももしそうでないなら、食べる習慣のない地方から取り寄せれば危険性が高いのは当たり前です。
わかりました。
ここにいる者たちは賢い。これ以上言う必要はないだろう。
結局犯人は倒れた役人の弟でした。
I swear
買い
it's
付
like
け先を
Jinshi
見
has
つけ
to
たと
take
ころ
care
で
of
自分が
a
勝ったと
dog
白
on
状
a
したそうで
leash or
す。
something.
動機は次男の自分がないがしろにされて長男を邪魔に思ったからだそうです。酒場で横に座った客から偶然教わったそうです。
偶然ねえ。
Okay, Boston, I don't
結
trust
局毒の
Boston.
残っている海藻は食べられなかったな。それにしても何に使おう。あの干からびた虫から伸びた枯葉色のキノコ。
He's so in love with her poison. She's in love with her food.
何事ですか？
私のせいじゃない。
Holy. Chill
お疲れ
out,
のよう
dude.
ですね。
仕事が溜まっ
Tired
てるんだ
enough to
が
hit his head.
どうに
Yeah.
も馬が合わない相手がいて意見が違ってしまうのだ。
人士様にも苦手な方がいるのですね。
相手は頭の切れる軍部の高官だ。家柄は良いのに 40を過ぎて再退もせず、老い子を養子にとって家の
He adopted his he adopted his nephew as his son and has him handle. Something's interesting in here. Oh, wait a minute. Are we talking about the high official guard or are we talking about Boston? I'm confused right now. Okay, I'm gonna lock this into my notes. Okay.
管理を任せている有名な変人だ。
40を過ぎた軍部の高官で変人。
興味のあるものといえばもっぱら
Oh,
碁と将棋
shogi
と
and
噂
romance.
話。
Wait a minute,
癖をつけては突撃してきて案件の判を押すのを先延ばしにしてくる。
That's the
どうも
water
標
director.
的にされたらしい。このところ毎日執務室に居座られて。
Why is Maomao so interested in that?
よし忘れよう。
What?
思い出してもろくなことにならない。しかしまあ忘れたところでいつもの嫌な予感は当たるのだが。
案件はもう通ったはずですが。
冬に
Yep, the
花
water
見は
director.
難しい。ならばこちらでと思いましてな。
この男の名はラカン。軍師をやっている。どうやら突っかかってくる理由は、六将官に縁のあるマオマを下女にしたことにあるらしい。
そういえば、
Why does that
六将
matter?
官に昔馴染みがいましてね。
意外な話だ。色事など全く興味ないのかと思っていたが。
いい妓女でしたよ。碁と将棋が得意で、将棋では勝てるが、碁では負けてばかりだ。
Okay, that's
軍師殿を
Maymay.
任すとは、それは強かったのでしょう。
あれほど面白い女には、もう会えないだろうと、身請けも考えましたが、物好きの金持ちが2人、競い合うように値を釣り上げていった。
それはそれ
So
は。
it's Maymay.
時に妓女の身請け金は、利休が一つ立つほどの額になるという。
変わり者の妓女でしてね。芸は売れど、身は売らず。それどころか、客を客とも思わない。客に茶を継ぐ時も、下船の民に施しを与えるような。しかし、それにうつつを抜かす物好きもいるもので、かくいう私もその一人なのですが、背筋にゾクゾクっとくる感覚がたまらないものでして、いつか押し倒してみたいと思っていたものですよ。結局その妓女を諦めきれず、仕方なく少々汚い手を使いました。希少価値を下げたんですよ。どんな方法か知りたいですか？
ここまで来てもったいぶるのですか？
I'm getting scared.
まあ、その前にちょっと頼みたいことがあるんですが。
But it hit the face, so would that be... Oh my goodness. No. No! Ah! Let's exquisite. I don't like my theory right now. I feel like I understand my theory, but I don't know if my theory would be right. I feel like that's way too much of a stretch. That's extremely a stretch. But, okay, hear me out. If it didn't show the face, I'm getting the feeling that's Maomao's mom. And if that's the case, to make her less exquisite would possibly be... At first I thought it was Maymay because he said he could never defeat her and go, but did he somehow, when he said less exquisite, did he mean that... Did he mean that he got Maomao's mom pregnant? And then Maomao's... Oh, that doesn't make sense though. Like, it doesn't. I don't know what to think. He is smart. But that doesn't make sense. Would that be Maomao's dad? No. Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. That's just a very... That's in my piles of theories that's far too stretch. I don't know what's going on. But he did something that's less exquisite to make I know it's Maomao's mom. At least I think it is. 'Cause who else hold on. I don't like that laugh. Okay, that looks like Maomao's mom. She doesn't have that long of a hair. Plus, she says she got kidnapped one time, which was during the time that she got into the rare palace. But it was also before too, wasn't it? I don't know. But then, oh, oh, that's right. Maomao had an expression too, so maybe she does know him. Oh my gosh, what is happening? Okay, whatever.
そちらに最近入った下女というのがなかなか面白いようで、妙に謎解きが得意なようですな。私の知人に宮廷御用達の彫金細工師がいたんですよ。そいつが先日ぽっくり行ってしまった。ちゃんと後継者を指名しないままにね。奴には3人の子供がいて弟子にしていたんですが、秘伝と言える技術を伝えぬまま行ってしまったのが不憫でね。きっと彼の思わせぶりな遺言が何かの手がかりだと思うんです。それが引っかかっていてね。その秘伝術がないかと思ったまでです。例えば、頭の回るそちらの下女が調べてくれやしないものかと。
とりあえず、話だけでも聞かせてもらえないでしょうか。
よく降るな。
Oh, there's a lot to talk about. Well, let's see. So, Maomao is to help Gaoshun because there's been an incident 10 years ago at the merchant's house of food poisoning that involved a raw pufferfish, which he needs Maomao's help in figuring out that situation because it happened 10 years ago and then currently, and it had the same problem where it had some vinegar, meat, and then some vegetable. The only problem is that they had the seaweed, or not the seaweed, the pufferfish a day before, and then they also had it the next day, another fish of some sort. But they tossed all the skin, the organs, and all that like into the trash, so it was there. It was evident right there. The only problem is they can't really have the evidence of what they're saying as of like that day or if it was in the trash the other day, just because no one expected them to die. So there's that. But Maomao can't really go into this case without having the full information before she starts speculating this situation. And that's when Gaoshun went further into trying to find like some recipes of the ingredients that they use. And Gaoshun has mentioned that he heard that seaweed was involved, and that made it very interesting for Maomao because during the winter, the vegetables that usually grow are radishes and carrots. So seaweed was very different because I believe those if that was to grow, it would be in the heat, and because it's not really hot, because it's cold, it would come from the south. And naturally, it was from the south after after Maomao went with Boston to go to the house to check for some evidence, and that's when she grabbed some of the seaweed and gave it to Boston, who gave it to her. Now, I'm still suspicious of Boston because he's somehow involved somehow, but it just doesn't make sense to me because that would be way too obvious if he was involved with the salt incident. I do feel like someone is being involved with the salt incident though. I'm just not sure as to who it is. but it has to be someone from the bar. I just don't know who. Because if it was Boston, that would be way too obvious because they've been basically, it seems like every time someone has something that has to have salt, they would die. And Boston is like always the person that they do like sumens. And I learned this a lot from Detective Conan. When you think it's that person and they make it so obvious, it is not that obvious. They make you want to believe that, but it's not that easy. So, I'm still suspicious of Boston being around that situation. I just don't think he's the one who killed them, though. I think someone else has. I just don't know who, though. For instance, I believe that the older brother could be the problem for his younger brother his younger brother dying because he seemed very hot-headed and was very impatient with the situation. But then again, he could be overprotective, plus he's managing the mansion situation, so there's that. But I don't know. I feel like he was hiding something, and I thought it could be the objects or the table or something that was. The reason I was thinking of the table is because, like, um, if they were Loki, it was just, if there was anything on the table and they just couldn't catch it because they didn't know it was on there, and the older brother did something to the table to put a little like poison where if it caught on their finger or anything on the knife or whatever, then it would catch on, and then as they're cutting up, stuff like that. But I just don't think that was it because now we know it's the seaweed. So, but yeah, I'm convinced that the older brother was somehow involved with it. But it is interesting that when Gao Xun was talking to Maomao, that he has a report that says someone told uh the salt or the seaweed to the older brother, which is very interesting because if it was Boston who told him that, then how would he would probably it would probably make sense because he is in the tavern. But if someone else told them this, I would be curious if they're a soldier or something, because if they're just going in there, I don't know, like it just doesn't make sense why they would know this if because the way they showed the conversation between that older brother and the person that was telling him about the salt, it made it seem like it was very down low because the bar is pretty loud and chaotic, especially when people are drunk and like happy or jealous or whatever. They're just having all sorts of emotions in there. But the fact that they're saying like something like that, it does make me curious who reported that situation because it does make it interesting to know if they're not involved somehow or if they're not the tavern if they're not that person themselves by telling this to the older brother. So, because the older brother doesn't seem like he would be that intellect to get seaweed from the southern part to do that. But the younger brother would probably eat the seaweed because that was one of his favorite food. But also because he really does enjoy eating raw, rare food, which is like the raw pufferfish or I think it is. It just depends. And then like also the seaweed in the winter, which is rare unless you get it from the south. So, yeah. But when Maomao came to show the seaweed, she soaked one in lime water and the other one not, meaning it has salt. So we know the salt is the incident. I just don't know who the suspect is, and I just don't feel like it would be Boston because he's really close with Gao Xun and Jinshi, and I would feel like they would catch that immediately if that was the case, because I feel like he's very loyal somehow. He doesn't like Maomao. That's what I know so far. I don't know why. I think it's just because he doesn't really understand why Jinshi would get her or something. I don't know. I mean, it kind of makes sense because he did buy a courtesan at the Ferdiga's house, so who knows. But when she was eating the poison, she wanted to test if the detoxification could be done overnight. The only problem is when you have Jinshi and Gaoshun in there, Gaoshun will follow orders while Jinshi lets her vomit it by using her emetic agent to that will make her puke her stomach inside out, basically, so that the poison isn't in her system. But then after that whole like situation with the seaweed, Maomao is thinking of what she should do with her caterpillar fungus because she's getting too excited, wanting to know if she should do something with medicine or with booze or whatever she wants to do with it. And then she was really happy and she just said, "Welcome home to Jinshi." Jinshi, he hit his head on the wall, and I'm pretty sure it's some gag of some sort. Because who was it who did that? Li Shu did that same thing when Maomao was teaching them some materials that's only for them, and it was probably pleasure for the emperor. So she probably when Li Shu hit her head against the wall like that, it was probably because it was some like intense emotions that she was feeling from where she was getting all flustered. And that's probably what I'm getting from Jinshi when she was like smiling and stuff. Like it was just intense emotions that he hit his head against the the wall. So that was funny, um, and cute. But now Jinshi says that he and this high official in the military don't see eye to eye and can't get along because they have different perspective. But he's a 40-year-old man who's single, and I kind of figured they were talking about Lockon. So he also adopted his nephew as his son, and his interests are like Go, shogi, and rumors. And as of lately, he has been camping around Genshi's office, and this made Maomao shiver, I believe. It made her go high alert for sure. And I get the feeling like I think that my theory, I don't know. At first, I thought my theory could be a stretch, but I'm not sure. I feel like it's possible, but maybe I'm wrong. Because he is a high official in the military, so that's very impressive. And surprisingly, he is single. So that's really interesting why he's single because he's strategist, he's a high official in the office, and I don't know. But then he talks about how he had an acquaintance at the Furtick's house and he really enjoys talking about this one lady that he didn't want to let go away, but then it also talked about how two rich men were trying to fight over getting this woman. As Maomao has mentioned in episode 3, she discussed more about it. But what he said to get her into the lower price, which was also mentioned in episode 3, was he did something that would make her less exquisite. And I'm getting the feeling that he forced himself upon her, got her possibly pregnant. Now, this might be a far stretch, but what I'm thinking, because I'm thinking of like episode 1, where Maomao was talking about the powder, and the mom uses the powder. I feel like the mom has been using the powder and going behind Luamen and Maomao's back because they understand that the powder does have like some sort of poison. Or I felt like she she uses that because now she's a what is it? Because I believe like in there's like the rankings, like Paiden, Joka, and Maomao are like of the high rankings because I'm pretty sure I don't know if they're virgins or not, but I get the feeling like a virgin has a higher status, but because he forced it upon her and she had a child, she's probably of a lower ranking, and that probably got her messed up somehow. I don't know. My head's kind of like spinning with this because I don't know. This is so confusing right now. Because what I'm thinking is that she uses the powder face to get back into the higher rankings, but because she had a child, which I believe was Maomao, and but if that's the case, I get the feeling like that high alert from Maomao, she probably knows that's her father, and he's strategic, and he seems smart. At first, I thought he was talking about acquaintance like uh Mimi, because it also mentioned how she entertains with songs, go, and chess and whatnot. So that's what I thought it was. But then I realized, oh, well, that's different because it seems he couldn't defeat someone with go. Plus, she had that cold demeanor side of her or whatever. I don't know. That cold stare that made him shiver. And Jinshi and Daoshun believed he was talking about Maomao, but really it was Maomao's mother. And I think he is Maomao's father, but then it doesn't make sense. Well, I wouldn't really understand why he didn't, if he already went as far as he did, like, why didn't he take her at that point? Why didn't he pay for her? Why didn't, like, I just feel like he's kind of messed up at this point. I don't know. Um I mean, I felt like it was really stressed out, but now I'm like I think I might be going somewhere with this, but I'm not entirely sure. Anyways, I'm not going to talk about this any further because this could just go on for hours on end. So, that's just my theory. I believe the mom used the powder to make herself beautiful so that she could be of a higher ranking because I get the feeling she's kind of crazy though, dude. Because I feel like she had the highest ranking and she was fine, but I feel like she went a little crazy because she went lower ranking because she got pregnant. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong because I mean, they had Maomao was at such a young age before when they moved out of the. I don't even know if Maomao was in the rare palace when she was young. I just know she was following Luamen like at such a young age. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, my it feels like I'm getting somewhere with this theory, but the only way I'm gonna ever find out these answers is by watching the next episode of the series. So, yeah. Anyways, that's pretty much all I have for right now. So, oh, and before I go, I wanted to talk about Lakan's favor that he asked of Jinshi because he was acquainted with a metal worker who was the palace purveyor who passed away a few days ago, and he failed to name a proper successor, but there's some hints around it as to who it will be the proper successor, and he wants to use Genshi's servant. And then Maomao has said that she has a bad feeling and her hunches are always right. So I get the feeling she knows who Lock-in is, but yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen or if that's even her father or I feel like it's her father. But I don't even know how much Maomao knows of her father or if she knows he exists or anything. I don't know. This is like really all confusing because I feel like, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to stop talking about this and just cover hopefully a better clarification of what I'm trying to say with my theory because I kind of feel like I just jumped all over the place with my theory. So, but yeah. Anyways, love you, comrades. Have a wonderful, beautiful, and an amazing day. Not kidding. Love you, comrades. Bye.